both of our teams lost. All right, spoiler alert. The 49ers lost to the Cardinals, and they dominated for most of the game. It was kind of, it had shades of like what happened 2 weeks ago against the Rams. And I think even last week in the episode, I said, does beating the Patriots mean that the 49ers are back? I was a little hesitant I know Fred Warner said that they were back after last week's game, but I mean, it's the Patriots. You know what I mean? So I mentioned that the 49ers were going to have to account for Kyler Murray's rushing ability, and the first touchdown for the Cardinals in this game was Kyler Murray on a 50-yard rush. That was more of a designed run, and I think more of my concern with Kyler Murray was just his ability to extend plays and really kind of scramble within the pocket, which, I mean, he had plenty of that in this game, and like this has been a problem since Robert Saleh has been like the defensive coordinator back. Like it's been a problem for over 5 years now. So I wouldn't like blame Nick Sorensen for that in particular, because it's like we've had two great defensive coordinators who just whatever the 49ers scheme / philosophy / personnel, they just have trouble with mobile quarterbacks such as Kyler Murray. So they couldn't necessarily contain Kyler Murray. And for the most part in the first half, they were able to contain James Conner until late in the game. They just the theme of my description of this game is just that they couldn't finish. This has been now a second game in the past 3 games where the 49ers have failed to finish the game. And both of these games were divisional games. And I'd say in like a typical standard year, any divisional game is going to be very competitive. Like for whatever reason, I just noticed, like, I remember most of the time when it comes to divisional games, it's pretty close rather than, blowout city. Like obviously there's those years here and there. And like more recently, we have been more accustomed to the 49ers being a little bit more dominant, because I think 2 years ago they swept the NFC West. And then last year they only lost to the Rams in the NFC West. And that was week 17 when all the starters were sitting. But, let me get to like more specifically the stats. The 49ers did a good job, I think, in the first half. But then, later on, James Conner finished with 86 yards. Kyler Murray finished with 7 carries for 83 yards and a rushing touchdown. Obviously, the one that I mentioned that, to open off the first score for the Cardinals in the game. And that was a play that I think Devondre Campbell, being kind of old and a little bit slow, made the difference of like not having Dre Greenlaw there, being able to actually, if not make the tackle on Kyler Murray, at least push him back inside. Devondre Campbell gave up the outside leverage, and then Kyler Murray was just off to the races. Aside from that, like Brock Purdy, I think, didn't have his best game today. He didn't play a good game, in my opinion. I thought that he was very late to a couple reads. He was staring down a couple receivers. So when I pull up the stats, it is actually kind of jarring in terms of like the way he was targeting, the players today. Brandon Ayuk had a fantastic game. And I think part of the reason why is because Brandon Ayuk has been getting open, and like all the metrics would say that Brandon Ayuk actually does have a really good separation score on a lot of routes. Like I've heard, people across like, I guess like the football community talking about it, in like the fantasy football community, which is why I traded for Brandon Ayuk. But like actual football aside, Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle both had 8 receptions. The next highest receiver to have, to have a reception was Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, and Jordan Mason, all tied with 1 reception. So you go from 16 funneled to 2 different players, and then 1 each for 3 three of the 49ers' best weapons on offense. Juwan Jennings has been killing it this season. Deebo Samuel, I don't know where he was at in this game. He got a couple carries too. Deebo had 3 carries for 9 yards. I mean, 3 yards per carry, it's not great, but, you know, I know Jordan Mason fumbled late in this game, and that's one of the biggest reasons why the 49ers lost this game. And I always hate to, like, pin it on one player or one thing, but, you know, I would have liked to see Jordan Mason used a little bit more consistency or consistently throughout the game. You know, he had 14 carries for 89 yards, still averaged 6.4 yards per carry, had no touchdowns. I don't know, it was just it was something was off today, and I think Purdy not really getting in his rhythm and making the quick reads where that's probably, like, Purdy's best skill set is, like, it's not like, one of his skills definitely is his mobility in the pocket and, like, the ability to extend plays, but I'd say Purdy's probably best trait is being able to process quickly and get the ball, like, where it needs to be and throw with anticipation. So, you know, I don't think that Purdy, really stood out in that category today. It was one of those days, and now the 49ers are sitting at 2 and 3, you know? They are sitting at 2 and 3, and, the question or the theme just sort of starts to keep creeping up, like, is this a Super Bowl hangover year? Is there still time for the 49ers to turn it around? Yes. We've seen them do it before. Will they do it? That's another question. Every single year is a brand new team. You can't rely on past performances in order to dictate how things are going to shake out in the future. Um, I would say that the schedule coming up for the 49ers is going to be pretty rough, and we will get into 49ers versus Seahawks, after I'm done breaking down, the Cardinals game. But another big reason why I think the 49ers lost this game is, I don't think Shanahan necessarily had a plan. And, he definitely did not have a plan for what would happen if his kicker went down. In this game, Jake Moody got injured. He was making a tackle on a kickoff. He was covering, and he, as he was making the tackle, his foot kind of got, like, planted in the ground, and he hurt his ankle. It was one of those things where it's just awkward. And now he's going to be probably missing a significant amount of time. He's going to be missing at least a couple weeks due to that ankle injury, and I'm pretty sure that's on the foot that, like, he kicks with. That is his $1 million foot right there. And he injured it. So the 49ers had to go for it on, like, 4th and long late in the game. It was like at least 4th and 16. And it was like, well, they kind of have to go for it because, I mean, it was weird because Mitch Wishnowsky ended up making a field goal in this game. And then Kyle Juszczyk, for whatever reason, started warming up like he was going to kick and then never did. I actually don't remember if he was the place kicker on kickoffs, and maybe he was part of the, the coverage. I don't remember. The kickoff hasn't been, like, super duper fun to pay attention to this year, like how we thought it might be. But I'm pretty sure it was just Wishnowsky. And then the announcers even pointed out that Wishnowsky was not even, warming up for, like, a potential game-winning kick. He was just kind of standing there on the sideline. And I get it. Like, that's not his job. He is just, by default, the other guy who knows how to put the ball on his foot properly, Yeah. But I think the thing is, he used to do kickoffs, and I know it's different. A ball on a tee versus having somebody hold it down and then you kicking it through the uprights. Like, I get it, but still, it's like, is it just going to be all or nothing, touchdown or nothing here? Like, get going. It's like football 101. You have to be ready, or just any sport in general. You have to be ready to take advantage of an opportunity when your number gets called. And so Wishnowsky could have been the hero of the day. The 49ers could have been 3-2, and we could have been like, wow, they were able to overcome not having a kicker. Instead, they just kind of looked, well, fuck, man, we don't have a kicker today. That sucks. Like, I even think the Arizona Cardinals had to resort to their backup kicker. And I get it. The Niners, their kicker got injured during the game. I'm not necessarily sure when the injury designation was for the Cardinals kicker. I actually didn't even know that they were playing a backup kicker until I went to TJ Maxx today with Pia, like, at some point after the game, and the cashier was like, hey, what happened to the Niners? And like, hey, I heard that Arizona, like what's going on with Arizona's kicker? He didn't play today, and I was like, I didn't even know that. Like, I wasn't like super focused on who was kicking for the opposing team. But nonetheless, there was a moment in the game where this thought creeped into my mind. The Niners, like I said, they were very much in control of this game throughout, except for the end. It started to kind of, weaken once the second half started, but they had a 10-point lead late in the third quarter, and I'm like, man, if they go into this fourth quarter with a 10-point lead, I said it a couple weeks ago, I never want to see them have a 10-point lead ever again in the fourth quarter. And they went into the fourth quarter with a 10-point lead, and that's the reason why they lost the game. Because Kyle Shanahan just hates having a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter and just says, hey guys, let's give it up to the other team. We played pretty good, but they got us. They got us right where they want us. No, I'm joking, obviously. But yeah, it's poor clock management. It's not like, here's the thing. Jordan Mason fumbling, I feel like really, really makes this the Niners win the game if Jordan Mason doesn't fumble. I understand that. But like, man, when people say that Shanahan needs to run the balls in these, run the ball in this situation, or down the stretch, milk the clock, and then he does it, he finally, all right, he's running the ball when he's supposed to be. Then a fumble occurs, and then everybody's like, see, this is why he doesn't do it. You think you know more than Kyle Shanahan. Like, no, he's finally, that's the right play call. Run the ball. Jordan Mason, you have to be better. I mean, Jordan Mason knows. I don't need to tell him. Jordan Mason has had a great season so far. It was that, and it was Purdy's interception at the end that were just, they were shitty turnovers at the worst times, right? Mason obviously with the fumble in the red zone, and then Purdy, to try and get the team in position to win the game, held the ball for too long. Pressure came in. He had Kittle wide open, but I guess Purdy was focusing on Ayuk, and didn't really get to his progressions. Had Kittle wide open. Then once he saw it and decided to throw it, got his arm smacked, ball flew straight up in the air, and then Arizona comes down with the football. Game over. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens when you let a team hang around. The 49ers didn't close the door. They left the door wide open, and Arizona busted right through. Another 10-point lead, gone, vanished. It never happened. Never happened. Cardinals win. Who cares that you were dominating the entire game? You have to finish the game.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned a lot of like offensive struggles so far, but it felt like their defense was just getting gashed, really. In the second half.
In the second half, yes. I talked a little bit with my brother once I got home, and he pointed out two things that I kind of wanted to talk about. First off, I think D. Winters needs to get a little bit more action. I think D. Winters, I don't know, he just brings a spark, And does that Kyler Murray touchdown happen if D Winters is in there? I don't know. You know, he's got fresher legs. He's faster. He's a thumper. I thought for sure he was going to get a 15-yard penalty on that hit on. He had this big hit on the other team's tight end, McBride. Yeah, and I was like, after he hit McBride, I swear it looked like helmet to helmet contact in like live action, and it was like clear and concise. And afterwards, he's like banging his helmet, because he knew he made a big hit, and like he was celebrating. And McBride was fine, which I guess was fine, and no harm, no foul, I guess. On the sideline, you could kind of see McBride maybe a little shaken up because he's just coming off a concussion. But I was like, dude, he just might have just knocked him out of the game. No penalty. I would like to see D Winters in a little bit more. Because I just think that he's electric. And then the other thing my brother pointed out to me was just piss poor tackling. The 49ers trying to arm tackle. And then, I know on the James Conner touchdown, I think it was a touchdown. It was near the goal line. I'm trying to remember if it was a touchdown, but Niners just, were trying to arm tackle him, and he just ran through it like it was nothing. Like it's easy money for a running back. And, so I think the 49ers, it wasn't all bad on defense. Like there was a moment, I think, where Nick Bosa, he had another interception, which I thought, man, is he finally going to take it to the house? It was exactly, if you didn't watch the game today, let me paint the picture. Think about the 2019 game against the Carolina Panthers where Nick Bosa is just right place, right time, is able to snag the ball. It's like a designed screen pass or whatever, bubble screen, whatever have you. Nick Bosa just rips the ball out of the air and then starts taking it the other way. And then it's like, oh my God, he's going to take this for a pick six. Like that for a defensive end is crazy. And no, Nick Bosa forgot to unhitch the trailer, and he got stopped along the way. And I honestly forget if the 49ers I think they were able to score off that, but let's see here. Checking out Mike. Yeah, checking out Gypsy Mike. I was waiting for that helmet to helmet to get him ejected, and the refs didn't even review it. That was some BS. I thought he was going to get ejected. Where it's still talking about D Winters. That was for sure. I thought clear as day. I don't think I've seen a more clear and concise helmet to helmet. But hey, I mean, am I mad about it? Like that's the football that I grew up loving, but that's not today's football. So, like, I mean, I'm a Niner fan. I'm not going to say, "Hey, eject my guy," like that. That would just be like kind of soft on my part. But yeah, the 49ers have a lot to clean up still. It's still very early in the season. It's barely week 5, and it's an 18-week season. Oh, by the way, checking out Gypsy Mike, thank you for tuning into the channel, sharing your comment. We really appreciate that. Yeah, it's a lot to clean up. I thought Shanahan needs to incorporate the run more on early downs. And I think work play action a little bit more into that. As for the defense, just fundamentals, man. Just no more arm tackling, pursue. And something needs to be done about the run defense, because they were stopping Arizona early in the game. Like I was literally like thinking early in the game, they listened to my game plan that I had laid out besides the whole Kyler Murray thing. They were stopping James Conner. That was like one of the 3 legs that I had of what they had to do. And they just couldn't contain him the whole way. And, I guess you can only hold on for so long. But yeah, can we like fast forward a couple weeks, Mike? Can we fast forward to when the Jets fire Robert Saleh and he can come back to the 49ers? Can we do that?
I guess that technically would be legal, huh? Because I want to say Matt Patricia got fired by the Lions and in the same season went to the Patriots, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. And this is a situation now where I remember early in the offseason, I wanted Bill Belichick as the defensive coordinator, and I would feel so much better about the defense right now. Like, I think there also is this, like, not bitter taste, but like, it's just like they interviewed Nick Sorensen not a couple, but last year, and then they decided to go with Steve Wilkes and then fired Steve Wilkes. And it's like, hey, Nick, it's your job. So, I don't know. But I guess we can kind of recap our predictions. Spoiler alert, Mike and I were both wrong. The 49ers, we both thought that the Niners should have won this game, but obviously they did not. So we are wrong. And that leaves Mike at 1 correct prediction and me at 2 correct predictions. And I still have picked the 49ers for every single pick that I've done on this channel. So let's see if we can sort of keep that same energy. Am I going to pick the 49ers this week? Let's talk about it. 49ers versus Seahawks. I like this matchup, honestly. I thought the 49ers versus Cardinals was a bad matchup for the Niners. I thought it was the right time to play the Cardinals while they're, they didn't look like a team that was super imposing for most of the game. I thought the Cardinals were, they were kind of down on themselves, and they were, and most of the game, they kind of looked defeated, but the Niners didn't shut the door. Cardinals came back. This week, I think Gino honestly impressed me against the Lions. I don't know. What did you watch that game, Mike? The Seahawks versus you turned it on towards the end because you had Kenneth Walker in fantasy. But Gino was a little bit more mobile than I remember ever seeing Gino. But I still think that he likes to operate mainly within the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see here. The only matchup that I know is going to kill the 49ers this week is going to be the Kenneth Walker versus the Niners run defense matchup. I don't know how you feel about that.
That sounds great to me.
Who are you? Well, no, we'll talk fantasy after. Mike has Kenneth Walker on his team, and I think Mike is sort of praying that the Niners defense does not get fixed this week. But
stop the pass as much as you want, guys, but don't stop the run.
No,
honestly, you know what though? Here, I'll say this.
Short week. It's going to be in Seattle. It kind of reminds me of like how the 49ers went into Seattle a couple years. No, it was just last year. They played on a Thursday night in Seattle as well. It was Thanksgiving. But this time they have no McCaffrey. I don't know. How do you feel? What do you see from this game, Mike? Who do you think is going to win? And then I guess I'll go first on the Raiders versus Steelers when we get to that. I do see a Raider fan, Raider Ryan in the comments. We will get to the Raider section of the video. Stay tuned. We will get to that.
I just think the Seahawks are coming off of 2 straight losses. And this one against the Giants was not a good one. No loss is good, but against the Lions, it was that was a hard fought game where the Lions clearly kind of won it at the end, but the Seahawks still fought until the very end. But against the Giants, it's like, man, you guys are losing the whole game. And then right when they had their chance to get back in it, and Gino had a really big, scramble for like 20 plus yards at the end of this game. And then their game tying field goal attempt gets blocked, return for a touchdown, game over. You're not coming back from that with like less than a minute left. Against the Giants again. The thing that I noticed, being that I'm a Kenneth Walker fantasy manager, I noticed that for some weird reason against the New York Giants, the Seahawks refused to run the ball. Like, they ran Kenneth Walker probably less than 8 times in this game against the Giants. And, like, it might be far less, like 4 attempts. I would assume that against the Niners, they will look, if not, emphasize getting that fixed and evening that out. But
Kenneth
I think they probably will go.
He had 5 carries for 19 yards. They did not commit to the run against the Giants. Geno Smith threw 40. He threw 40 times.
Yep. So I don't know what that's all about. Maybe it's the Giants have a really bad defensive backfield or something. But like, Seahawks probably win this game if they just run the ball and carry out a normal game plan. So maybe they'll get back in the groove of things against the Niners. Maybe they won't. I don't know. I think the Niners are a better team, but both teams are coming out of a weird, last couple of games. And really, I don't think anybody's taking this division by storm yet, and this would be a big game to do that. Personally, where's this game being played?
It's going to be in Seattle. So it's going to be primetime Thursday night football in the Seahawks house. Seahawks are typically, they are very good in front of their home. It's hard for the Niners to beat Seattle in Seattle, is what I'm trying to say. Like, they have a good home crowd. The 12th man has been notorious for like 14 years now, or 12 years now.
I have a really hard time picking this game. I'm going to go with my gut and go with the Niners.
You're going to go with the Niners? Okay.
Yeah.
I am looking right now at their schedule, and their schedule does not get easier. Next week, the Niners have the Chiefs. And I think if the 49ers lose this game to the Seahawks, we have to seriously question, are they going to miss out on the playoffs?
Right.
They are currently 2-3. If they lose to the Seahawks, they're 2-4 going against Kansas City. And then I think they could beat Dallas, but still, it's like you don't want to be 2-4 going against the Chiefs, because the Chiefs could bury you.
You're probably going to be 2-5. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the 49ers, I like their matchup in this. I would like to see a lot more involvement of more of their weapons rather than just a funnel to one singular player. It was the Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle show, and that was it, with a little bit of Jordan Mason sprinkled in between. Give me the 49ers in this one. And am I super confident about this? No, I think it's going to be a very close game. I think both teams really want to win this game, because whoever wins this game is going to be in first place in the NFC West, right? Following the result. So give me the 49ers in this game, only simply because their backs are going to be against the wall. Like, this right now is a crisis point in their season, I'd say. Their backs are against the wall now. Super Bowl hangover? Is that just what we're going to have this year? Like, just go out there, win the damn game, take care of business in Seattle, and then, don't even focus on who's next week. I'm gonna cross this out. Let's not even, if you're a 49er watching this, which I know no Niners are going to be watching this video, just focus on this one game at a time. Pass rush, should be able to sack Geno Smith a couple times. You're going to struggle a little bit against Kenneth Walker, but if you're lucky, the Seahawks offense is not going to commit to the run like they didn't this week against the New York Giants. And yeah, on offense, just get everybody involved. Brock Purdy needs to be better about going through his progressions and not just staring one player down. Give me the 49ers in this game. Yeah. Not super confident. Like I said, we cannot pick the 49ers to be a lock in any game this, for the rest of the season. I just don't see it. We thought the Rams game was a lock, and I think the Rams game was a lesson. Cardinals game, the Cardinals going into this game were 1-3. The Niners could have just buried their season right there. This would have just been another lost year for the Cardinals. Now they're kind of back in the mix. They have the same record right now as the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Niners need to take care of business on Thursday Night Football.